Choosing the wrong duck breed could cost you an entire season of feed, time, and money. While most beginners assume all ducks grow the same, lay the same, and reach market weight at the same pace, the truth is far more complicated. Some breeds are engineered by generations of selective breeding to pack on meat in under 2 months. Others were bred almost entirely for relentless egg production, and a few try to do both with mixed results. Today, we're ranking 6 of the most important duck breeds in backyard and small-scale farming, comparing them head-to-head on eggs, meat, and speed to market, from a solid dual-purpose option all the way to the single breed that dominates commercial duck production worldwide. Before we start the countdown, let's talk about why this ranking actually matters. Duck farming has quietly become one of the most profitable entry points into small-scale livestock. Ducks are hardier than chickens in wet climates, they forage more aggressively, they're more resistant to many common poultry diseases, and depending on the breed, they can either flood you with eggs almost daily or put on pounds of meat faster than nearly any other backyard bird. But here's the problem. Pick the wrong breed for your goals, and you'll either be feeding a flock that barely lays or raising slow-growing meat birds that eat far more than they're worth by the time they're ready for processing. So here's how we're judging each breed. We're looking at growth speed and time to market weight, feed conversion efficiency, egg production and egg size, meat quality and carcass yield, temperament and how easy the breed is to manage, climate adaptation, disease resistance, and finally, overall profitability for a small farm or homestead operation. Keep in mind, exact numbers always vary depending on your feed quality, your climate, your management style, and the specific bloodline you start with. Anyone who gives you exact, guaranteed numbers is probably guessing. What we can give you is realistic ranges based on how these breeds typically perform. Let's start with number 6. Number 6 is the Ancona Duck, a breed that doesn't get nearly enough attention, but deserves a place on this list because of how balanced it is. Anconas originated in England in the early 20th century, not Italy, despite the name, which often confuses people. They're a broken-colored breed, meaning their feathers come in unpredictable patches of white mixed with black, blue, or chocolate, and no two Anconas look exactly alike. That alone makes them a favorite for homesteaders who want personality in their flock, not just production numbers. An adult Ancona typically reaches somewhere around 6 to 6.5 pounds, and they grow at a moderate pace, usually reaching a usable market weight somewhere between 8 and 10 weeks, though many small farmers let them grow longer for a heavier carcass. Compared to specialized meat breeds, that growth rate is respectable, but not exceptional. Where Anconas really shine is their foraging ability. Put them on pasture or near a pond, and they'll hunt down slugs, insects, and weeds with impressive persistence, which can meaningfully cut down your feed bill if you have the space for it. On the egg side, Anconas are surprisingly strong layers for a dual-purpose bird, often producing somewhere in the range of 150 to 200 eggs per year, with eggs that can appear white, cream, or even tinted with blue or green undertones. That's a real advantage if you're trying to sell specialty eggs at a farmer's market, because customers notice unusual egg colors immediately. However, this is where the Ancona starts to fall behind the breeds ranked above it. Their meat yield, while decent, doesn't compare to purpose-bred meat ducks, and their egg output, while good, can't match the true egg-laying specialists later on this list. They're a fantastic all-rounder and an excellent beginner breed thanks to their hardiness and calm temperament. But if your goal is maximum profit in either eggs or meat specifically, the Ancona is a strong foundation, not a finish line.
Number 5 is the Rouen, and this is where things get visually stunning, but also where we need to have an honest conversation about a common beginner mistake. Rouens look almost identical to wild mallards, just dramatically larger, with the same iridescent green heads on the males and mottled brown plumage on the females. Farmers and homesteaders often choose Rouens purely because they're beautiful, and honestly, that's a valid reason to keep a few. But if profit is your priority, you need to understand their growth pattern first. Standard Rouens are heavy birds, with mature drakes reaching 8 to 9 pounds or more. The problem is that traditional standard-bred Rouens grow slowly, often taking 16 to 20 weeks or longer to reach full size, which is a massive difference compared to faster commercial breeds. That extended growth growth period means more feed, more time, and more overhead before you see any return. There is a faster-growing production-type Rouen used in some commercial operations, but the classic exhibition-quality Rouen most homesteaders buy is bred for looks and size, not speed. Where Rouens redeem themselves is meat quality. Many farmers who've raised both Rouens and Pekins describe Rouen meat as richer, darker, and more flavorful, closer to a traditional roasting duck you'd see in a high-end restaurant. If you're selling directly to chefs or customers who care about flavor over volume, that's a genuine selling point. On eggs, Rouens are moderate layers, typically producing somewhere around 130 to 180 eggs annually, which is respectable but not spectacular. Temperament-wise, they tend to be calm and easy to handle, and their heavy body weight makes them naturally less flighty than lighter breeds. So, here's the verdict. Compared to the Ancona, the Rouen offers superior meat quality and a similar or slightly lower egg output, but it sacrifices serious time. If you're patient, have space, and want a premium product for a niche market, the Rouen can work beautifully. But if speed to market is your priority, this next breed solves that exact problem in a completely different way. Number 4 is the Muscovy duck, and technically we need to point out that Muscovies aren't even the same species as the other ducks on this list. While Pekins, Rouens, Anconas, Khaki Campbells, and Welsh Harlequins all descend from the wild mallard, Muscovies come from a separate lineage native to Central and South America. That biological difference actually explains almost everything unique about how they perform. Muscovies are prized almost exclusively for their meat, and for good reason. Their meat is notably leaner than Pekin duck meat, with less fat under the skin, a flavor many describe as closer to veal or lean beef than traditional greasy duck. Restaurants that specifically want lean duck often seek out Muscovies for exactly this reason. Adult drakes can reach 10 to 12 pounds or more, among the largest of any domestic duck breed, though hens are considerably smaller, often half the size of the males. Here's the trade-off, though. While Muscovies eventually get big, they don't get there fast. They typically need somewhere around 12 to 16 weeks or more to reach a good processing weight, noticeably longer than a Pekin. However, they partially make up for that slower timeline with exceptional foraging skill and a genuinely lower feed cost per pound if you have decent pasture, since Muscovies are famous for hunting down insects, including flies and mosquitoes, which makes them popular on farms specifically for pest control alongside meat production. On eggs, Muscovies lay far fewer eggs than dedicated layer breeds, often in the range of 60 to 120 eggs annually, though the eggs themselves are notably large. They also go broody frequently and are excellent attentive mothers, which is genuinely useful if you want to hatch your own future flock without an incubator, but it does interrupt consistent egg collection. One more thing beginners often get wrong with Muscovies: they're famously quiet. The females make a soft, almost inaudible sound, and even the males only produce a low hiss instead of a loud quack. If you're farming near neighbors or in a semi-residential area, that alone can be the deciding factor. Compared to the Rouen, Muscovies offer leaner, more specialized meat and dramatically better pest control, but they sacrifice egg production almost entirely and take even longer to reach full size. If meat quality and multi-purpose farm utility matter more than speed, this is a strong contender. But if you want serious egg production, the next two breeds are where the real competition begins.
Number 3 is the Welsh Harlequin, and this is where the ranking shifts from breeds you choose for a specific trade-off to breeds that genuinely try to excel at everything. Welsh Harlequins were developed in Wales in the 1940s from a genetic mutation in Khaki Campbells, and they quickly gained a reputation as one of the best true dual-purpose ducks available to small farmers. Growth-wise, Welsh Harlequins reach a solid market weight of around 5 to 6 pounds in a reasonable time frame, generally faster than Rouens or Muscovies, though not quite as fast as a dedicated Pekin. Their meat quality is well regarded, described by many small farmers as flavorful without being overly fatty, striking a nice middle ground. But eggs are really where the Welsh Harlequin earns its spot this high on the list. These ducks are exceptional layers, frequently producing somewhere between 240 and 330 eggs per year, rivaling many of the breeds bred purely for egg production. That's an enormous number for a bird that also grows into a respectable meat carcass. Combine that with their alert, active foraging behavior and generally friendly, curious temperament, and you get a breed that's genuinely difficult to find a serious weakness in. Their climate adaptability is strong, they tend to handle both cold and heat reasonably well, and their disease resistance is considered good compared to more intensively bred commercial lines. The biggest drawback, compared to specialized breeds, is exactly what you'd expect from a generalist. They don't hit the absolute ceiling in either category. Their eggs, while impressive, don't quite match the volume of the number 2 breed on our list, and their meat, while good, doesn't match the sheer growth speed of our number 1 pick. Still, if you only want to raise one type of duck and want strong performance in both eggs and meat without major compromises, the Welsh Harlequin might honestly be the smartest choice on this entire list for a beginner homestead. But if raw egg output is your only goal, this next breed is essentially unmatched. Number 2 is the Khaki Campbell, and if you've spent any time researching duck breeds for eggs, you already know this name. Developed in England in the late 1800s specifically for maximum egg production, the Khaki Campbell has earned a reputation as one of the most prolific egg-laying ducks on the planet, often compared directly to high-performing chicken-layer breeds. A well-managed Khaki Campbell can produce somewhere in the range of 280 to 340 eggs per year, and some exceptional individual hens, under ideal conditions, have been reported laying even more consistently than that. These are large, good-quality eggs, and because Khaki Campbells convert feed into eggs so efficiently, many small-scale egg sellers consider them one of the most cost-effective layer breeds available, often outproducing chickens on a feed-to-egg basis. Here's the trade-off, and it's a significant one if meat matters to you at all. Khaki Campbells are noticeably smaller and leaner than dual-purpose or dedicated meat breeds, typically weighing around 4 to 4.5 pounds at maturity. Their growth rate to that size is reasonably quick, but the resulting carcass is smaller and less commercially valuable than a Pekin or even a Welsh Harlequin. If you're raising them purely for eggs, that's irrelevant, but if you were hoping for a dual income stream from the same birds, you'll find the meat side of this equation underwhelming. Temperament-wise, Khaki Campbells tend to be more active and flighty than heavier breeds, sometimes described as nervous or skittish, especially compared to the calmer Rouen or Pekin. They're also excellent foragers and handle varied climates reasonably well, though their thinner body frame makes them slightly less cold-hardy than heavier ducks in extreme winter conditions without proper shelter. Compared to the Welsh Harlequin, the Khaki Campbell wins decisively on raw egg numbers, but loses meaningfully on meat production and carcass size. If your business model or homestead goal is centered entirely around egg sales, subscription egg boxes, or farmers market egg cartons, the Khaki Campbell is very likely your most profitable option. But if speed to market and meat yield are what you're really after, our number 1 breed dominates in a way almost no other duck can match. And that brings us to number 1, the breed that quietly dominates commercial duck production across the entire world, the Pekin Duck. If you've ever eaten duck at a restaurant, there's a very clear reason for that. Pekins are famous, above almost anything else, for their astonishing growth speed. Commercial and backyard-raised Pekins routinely reach market weight of around 7 to 8 pounds in just 7 to 8 weeks, a growth rate that towers over Rouens, Muscovies, and even the well-rounded Welsh Harlequin. That speed translates directly into lower feed costs per pound of meat, faster turnaround for your farm, and the ability to raise multiple batches in a single season if you have the setup for it.
Their feed conversion efficiency is considered among only the best of any duck breed, meaning you get more usable meat per pound of feed compared to slower-growing alternatives. Their meat itself is mild in flavor, tender, and widely accepted by consumers, which makes it far easier to sell to a broad customer base compared to the richer, gamier flavor of a Rouen or the leaner profile of a Muscovy. This is exactly why Pekins account for the overwhelming majority of commercial duck meat production in the United States and much of the world. But here's what surprises a lot of beginners. Pekins aren't just meat machines. They're also solid, dependable egg layers, typically producing somewhere around 150 to 200 large white eggs per year, which, while it doesn't touch the numbers put up by a Khaki Campbell, is genuinely useful if you want a secondary income stream from the same flock while your meat birds are growing out. Temperament is another underrated advantage. Pekins are famously calm, docile, and easy to handle even for children or first-time poultry keepers, and their heavier body frame makes them notably cold-hardy and adaptable across a wide range of climates. Their disease resistance is solid, especially in well-managed conditions, and their forgiving nature makes them extremely beginner-friendly despite their commercial-grade production numbers. The one legitimate criticism worth mentioning is that intensively bred commercial Pekin lines can sometimes carry more body fat than heritage-type Pekins, and some farmers selectively source slower-growing heritage bloodlines specifically to improve meat leanness and breeding longevity. That's a management decision, not a flaw in the breed itself, and it's the kind of detail experienced farmers factor in when choosing their breeding stock. Compared to every single breed on this list, the Pekin combines the fastest growth, the best feed conversion, strong meat yield, respectable egg production, and an easygoing temperament that makes it approachable for absolute beginners and experienced farmers alike. That combination of speed, efficiency, and forgiving management is exactly why it sits at number 1. So let's bring this all together. If you're a complete beginner who wants a calm, hardy, all-purpose duck with beautiful color variation, the Ancona is a fantastic starting point. If premium meat flavor for a niche market is your goal and you don't mind waiting, the Rouen delivers a genuinely special product. If lean meat, natural pest control, and quiet neighbors matter most, the Muscovy is in a category of its own. If you want one breed that performs well across the board without major weaknesses, the Welsh Harlequin might be the single smartest all-around choice on this list. If your entire business model depends on maximum egg output, the Khaki Campbell is very likely unbeatable. And if speed to market, feed efficiency, and overall profitability are your top priorities, the Pekin Duck is the clear winner, and it's exactly why commercial duck farms around the world have built their entire industry around this one breed. One more thing worth mentioning before we wrap up, because it's a mistake that trips up almost every beginner regardless of which breed they choose. Ducklings of any breed need a noticeably higher protein starter feed than chicks for the first few weeks, and they need constant access to clean water deep enough to submerge their entire bill, not just sip from, or you risk eye and sinus problems down the road. Ducks also mature and can safely go outside in cooler weather earlier than chickens because of their natural insulation, but they're messier and they'll turn any water source into mud within days if it isn't managed properly. Farmers who plan drainage and rotate pasture access tend to see healthier flocks and lower feed waste than those who don't, regardless of which of these 6 duck breeds they're raising. Which of these 6 duck breeds would you choose for your farm? Let us know in the comments below, and if you found this ranking helpful, subscribe for more breed comparisons, profit breakdowns, and practical farming guides designed to help your homestead actually make money.